Welcome back to BLOCKTV. This is Links in the Chain, where we speak to the people moving the sphere forward. Now, where it comes to crypto, there is a lot of FUD claiming the death of the new technology is right around the corner. A new report by Nobl Insurance, a provider for insurance to crypto holders, predicts that the future is bright for cryptocurrencies. According to Nobl's research and surveys conducted, 1 in 10 Americans will own crypto in 2020, what scientists determine as the tipping point for mass adoption. Even more importantly for its future success, by the end of 2021, 1 in 5 US millennials will hold cryptocurrency. That is an age group that is just becoming eligible to be US president, and is quickly taking over decision-making positions across the board. It ain't just holders either. YouGov reports that nearly a third of all Americans believe cryptocurrency will become widely accepted as a means of transaction in the next 10 years. It's easy to see why. With over 30 crypto-enabled debit cards already on the market, it's easier than ever to spend crypto. Nobl predicts that crypto e-commerce will eclipse $1 billion in 2020. The report also found that 70% of Americans will own crypto by 2030, equal to the number of Americans with a credit card today. That widespread adoption, combined with low fees and instant transactions, will lead to 1/3 of all transactions taking place on a blockchain. An insurance company's job is to lower one's fear of the unknown. And if Nobl's 2020 and beyond report is to be believed, there is no reason to fear the future of crypto. Now today we are joined by CIO at Nobl Insurance, Greg Wixted. Greg, thanks for joining us today.
No problem. Hi, how are you guys?
All right, well, doing very good. Jump right into it. The report, let's go. The report claims that 1 in 10 Americans will own crypto in 2020, and that 10% is the tipping point for mass adoption. Now, my question is this: do you really believe that with crypto's current state, bad UI, bad UX, it's complicated to use, buy, even hold for the average non-techie person, lack of regulation, plus the price volatility, do you really think that 10% is the tipping point for mass adoption regardless of those factors?
Yeah, I mean, the latest reports from the US and from leading universities suggest that, and it's a kind of hypothesis they've been working on for many, many years, that, to get consumer adoption, once you reach that 10%, people hold that firm belief. And the cryptocurrency community are, such firm believers and advocates for cryptocurrency that, it's unshakable. I mean, people talk about it all the time and say, it's going to fail, it's this. But, when we look at some, 10 years later, it's still growing every day. The naysayers like the banking industry, when they first started looking at it and they were saying, no, we will never touch it. Now, they're developing their own coins, they're looking at new payment systems. Same with retail. They all started accepting it. So, yeah, I mean, there's no going back. The genie's out of the bottle.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think it's fair to say still that even though crypto has been growing and growing, it still is stuck at that early adopter stage. I mean, if you go to anyone's grandmother on the street or even, anyone's parent, most likely they're not going to really know how to use crypto or even how to trade it. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the next, the challenge is really that conversion point from adopter to actually getting people to use it every day. And again, it's things like small steps, like retail, as I said earlier on, and also in the report, when it's easier to use for financial transactions. But that's just going to become more and more prevalent as technology moves on a bit, and the UI and the UX gets easier to use, and it becomes simplified. And that is one of the biggest challenges today. But also, it's us as an insurance company helping to build and reinforce the security around it and give people the protection they need. And that, again, is another great pillar that's going to help drive the adoption.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of retail, I mean, at the moment, most retail only accept crypto through a middleman that kind of converts it to fiat for them. At what point will someone be actually able to go into a store and just pay crypto directly to that store?
There are a couple of places in the US that you can actually pay directly. There's a real estate agent, I believe, that you can even buy a house, and there's ATM machines. Obviously, there's about 600-700 of them around the US. So I think it's getting there, and it's getting more and more. I think as there's some great technology that came out of London quite recently, that's around that kind of almost tap and pay like we have for our underground system, and they're exploring crypto right now. And direct, obviously, from your account. So again, the technology is moving on quite quickly, and I think we're going to see more and more of it come out in the next year and two, and especially obviously IoT connected devices are going to help that as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we'll definitely connected to all this. It has to be stable coins. Stable coins was mentioned in the report as a possible roadmap to widespread adoption. Do you believe that it will be a stable coin from a private entity like Facebook's Libra that leads the way, or will it be a government central bank issued coin?
That's a very good question. Am I qualified to answer it? Probably not, but I'll give it a go. I think it will probably be a mixture of both. I think it will be a collaboration of that kind of regulatory framework of governmental, but also of strong financial institutions. I know RBS and some other banks have been looking at Santander, JP Morgan with their JP coin. So I think they're looking. There are some strong inroads, but there's still a lot of work to be done on it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, well, definitely speaking of the banking industry, the banking industry as a whole has been, let's say, cold, to say the least, to digital currencies since they started. Do you foresee banks, continuing to battle crypto, or will they decide to team up with crypto, or will they just be put out of business by crypto?
There's definitely a shakeup in the market, in the banking market, especially when it comes to transactional transactions on the blockchain. Again, they are exploring it. I think the pace of change is quite slow. But when you're a large organization, and heavily regulated, it's quite difficult to make those moves. But lots of banks actually, I think there's a stat in there around the value that banks actually hold in crypto is quite a lot. It's quite staggering. So yeah, I think it's going to be. I think they're going to change, but a bit like insurance. How long it'll take them to change is another story.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, also in the report, you spoke about a one killer crypto app that will drive universal acceptance. That was definitely spoken about. Now, people have been predicting this one app to rule them all in mainstream tech forever, and that simply hasn't happened. Everyone still uses more than one or two apps on their phone constantly. Why do you think that crypto would be any different?
Well, I think as more and more transactions move to the blockchain, I think it's going to be more acceptable because the flow of data is going to be easier, and then that cross-pollination is going to be a lot simpler. So I genuinely believe, as a technologist myself, and as head of innovation, I've got to have a belief, and I strongly believe in that you can literally we will get to a stage where literally we'll be able to just have that one singular app, because the data flow will be there, and that we'll be able to just use that single data stream across multiple applications. We look at it now. Look at open banking. In the UK, it was impossible to ever open a bank account, in 4 or 5 different countries. Now you can open with like Money's or Monzo. You can open multiple accounts in multiple countries as you move, so your banking moves with you. So we're already seeing that. We're seeing that in healthcare. We're seeing in lots of industries where it's moving along. I don't think it's very much we're that far away from it. I just think it's just going to be how does it all gel together is the bit. Who's going to own that one piece of data? And was quite. When it comes to our own protection, our own data, how much are we willing to give away to get something in return?
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking about data gelling together, the report also spoke a bit about the relationship between AI and blockchain. How do you see advancements in AI actually affecting blockchain?
I think it's really going, especially in the transactional part, but also from an innovation point of view. I think it's really going to help us drive that super personalization around product down to the future. One of the future things that we're looking at almost is it's that kind of like on-demand fluid credit. So you'll never have a kind of like set credit limit. It'll just be based on the amount of money, because AI will determine where your source of income and what your expenditure is, and that will also help us develop new insurance products in the future. So really looking at on-demand, self-insuring devices and so on. I think it's a huge area to explore, and there's some work starting to happen in it. And I think we're going to see that progress really, really quickly over the next coming years.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking about crypto insurance, I mean, it's very relevant. You hear about hacks all the time. I mean, this happens again and again. Now, I'm personally a proponent of not your keys, not your crypto. But for someone who actually wants to put their money on the exchange, you guys do provide insurance for exchanges, for personal, for both? How does that work?
No, so ours is just personal. So it is for your hot wallet only. So we don't provide insurance for exchanges. There's companies out there that already do that. So ours is going to be the first one that will provide you with will insure you up to $50,000 whilst trading on an approved exchange. So if there's a hack, we'll pay out. As soon as it's confirmed, we'll just pay you out.
Wow, so that's actually your own personal wallet that is insured, and not even, so that could that insurance could kind of follow you as you move your crypto from exchange to exchange?
Yeah, so if you had multiple, so if you had 50,000 divided 10,000 on 5 approved exchanges, that's absolutely fine. Our system allows for that, and we've got great technology behind it. So you can look at all your trading accounts in one space. It's really quite simple. So you always know what's going on at any given time. So if you're on 5 different exchanges or 3 different exchanges, it's covered.
Wow. Okay. Well, Greg, that is crypto insurance, especially if you're keeping your money in a hot wallet. Very needed and very necessary, especially with all those hacks out there. Greg, thank you so much for joining us today. That was Links in the Chain. Stay current, stay informed, and stay safe at BLOCKTV.com.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.